Hello, everyone. Welcome into episode 166 of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports, the only sports broadcast to talk about both American and Brazilian sports. I'm Nick Colep, as always, from Chattanooga, Tennessee, in the United States, and joining me from Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil, is Gus Tomazeli. And Gus, how are you doing?
A little tired. It was a very intense day. Every game day, Rio Branco is intense. Definitely going to talk about later the result, which is a kind of good, or we can see it was good, or you can see as bad. But definitely going to talk about later. But right now, all the Brazilian soccer focus right now is at the city of Santos because Neymar is on the bench right now. And Santos actually has a penalty, and Neymar's on the bench, and the fans are calling him to, sub in to kick, but I guess he's not gonna go in right now. But Neymar is in, you know, in the bench. He might. I bet he's gonna make his debut tonight. But interesting, all Brazilian soccer nights are in Santos.
Right. I mean, I guess it depends on what form he's in, because I know he's been dealing with a lot of injuries, and obviously he's just trying to get himself back in form, and the Balls take the lead against the Missouri Tigers. But in any case, I guess, do we want to start with Neymar? Or do we want to go and start with some balls here real quick?
Um, I think I'm gonna wait. Maybe talk about later. See if Neymar gets in, because right now he's on the bench, and Santos might take the lead. Santos has a penalty to kick, and definitely talk about later. Definitely have interesting things because there's a little game on Sunday. There's something happened on Sunday in the United States of America that might be interest not only in North America but in the entire world.
Absolutely, and all across the world. Because we also want to shout out all of our viewers listening to us for the first time on TikTok. Uh, Thanks to a little viral video that I had the other night regarding the halftime show artist of this weekend's Super Bowl. And starting off here with the Super Bowl, and what I love to do every time we talk about the Super Bowl is talk about some of the non-game elements first. And the clear star of the Super Bowl this year that doesn't have anything to do with the game is the one, the only Kendrick Lamar, aka K. Dot, aka Kung Fu Kenny. Of course, if you have seen my TikToks, you know I'm a huge fan. I made a TikTok clowning Drake the other night. Um, and of course, over the past year, he's been in a beef with the popular Canadian rapper, and it is going to be a wild show on Saturday night. Gus, I don't know how much Kendrick you listen to, but kind of what are your thoughts on this halftime show on Saturday or Sunday? You're muted, Gus.
I'm back. And Santos took the lead 1-0. Chiquinho Soares, former Botafogo striker, took the penalty 1-0. Santos versus Botafogo of Ribeirão Preto. Neymar is still on the bench. I didn't understand why Jay said it. Neymar will get a cameo. We all know it. And he's saying Drake should stuck to acting. Those beefs are the kind of thing that it's almost necessary in this kind of industry, the music industry, because it create some sort of engagement, some sort of a kind of like a loyalty to it. There you have Kendrick Lamar fan base and Drake fan base. It's kind of like because for example in sports, like there's actual game, that we're going to talk about later. For example, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. Like that defines who's the best. There's no argument. But in music, those kind of beefs kind of tend to engage the fan bases. For example, Kendrick Lamar and Drake, and both benefited from because they, make money out of it by selling albums, by selling tracks, merch, concerts, you name it. So I think it's almost necessary in the music industry or entertainment industry, kind of like beef and love life of musicians and famous people. kind of like necessary to be relevant.
Yeah, and also there, I just saw some breaking NBA news. I'm just going to announce this real quick when we talk about it later. Jimmy Butler is being traded to the Warriors.
Whoa, whoa,
Yeah,
whoa!
we will definitely get into that and other just shocking trades in a minute. But Kendrick Lamar, he was the guy who got me into hip hop. I remember coming across Good Kid, Mad City when I was in middle school. And of course, I remember listening to Pimp a Butterfly on the bus in high school heading to a state conference. And it was just such a mind blowing artist to listen to. And to see him grow over time, and I got to see him perform 2 years ago in Nashville, well, I guess 2.5 years ago in Nashville in 2022. He had a top five concert that I've ever seen. I mean, he was incredible. And of course, last year, as you mentioned, that hip hop beef, it really had been years in the making because it had been rumored for a while that Kendrick Lamar and Drake did not like each other, that they had some sort of beef with one another. And what we saw there is kind of the industry clashing, right? Because Drake is a melodic, he is a hit chaser, while Kendrick Lamar does a lot more conceptual work. He does a lot more conscious hip hop. And Kendrick Lamar's work at the end of the day, because I like some of Drake's songs, but Kendrick Lamar's work ultimately is going to be long lasting. It's going to be impactful in how it impacts hip hop. And I love the fact that he's being rewarded for that in the industry, that he's getting rewarded with a spot here in the Super Bowl, because that man has a ton of big hits. Of course, obviously, Not Like Us literally just won the Grammy for Song of the Year. But even then, that may not even be the best song from the beef. I mean, Euphoria was incredible. Of course, if you go back through some of the previous records, he just had an album come out in November. How much of GNX will he play? I imagine he'll play like a Squabbled Up. He probably will play TV Off. But also, I want to see how much of the classics does he work in, because you only get 15 minutes here to showcase songs from all over your career. Because songs like DNA, Humble, N95 are all songs that you're probably going to see in this playlist. Swimming Pools and King Kunta. And I'm curious to see how he toes the line here, like how political to make it, because he's a pretty political rapper, right? Like he talks about a lot of social issues. But like, how do you balance that while also keeping it fun? Now, Jason says that who already knows the set list? Aaron. Of course, so one of our friends is down in New Orleans and actually helps sets up the Super Bowl. So,
Nice.
yeah. Um, but I don't want to know that set list for sure. And I don't think he's even allowed to even tell us what that set list is because of, for reasons. He doesn't want to get fired.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited for this halftime show. I'm probably more excited for the halftime show than I am for the game itself. And that's saying a lot, because I think you're also going to see a little bit of SZA in there. Of course, she's had a phenomenal run. She does a lot of work with Kendrick Lamar as an R&B artist. And will we see any special guests? Because remember, Kendrick Lamar back in 2021 was a part of that big Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem show in Los Angeles. Jason said, yeah, he's very not allowed to share. But imagine being one of the few people in the world that knows like what Kendrick Lamar is going to do. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take a strong guess and say he's probably going to end the show with Not Like Us, and have the whole country dissing Drake at the end of the Super Bowl. I mean, this is going to be just, if you're Drake, how do you even stomach watching the Super Bowl? Like, you can't. Like, because everyone's going to be sitting there and clowning you the entire time.
And then next year, he's gonna, be in the Super Bowl. Like I feel like, you know, probably Kendrick Lamar is gonna be ignoring, trying to, but not gonna do anything like to, uh, how can I say, like bash or badmouth, because he knows that he wants to be there.
Right. And because Drake has not gotten to perform at the Super Bowl like like Kendrick Lamar is getting to do really for the second time, although he this is the first time as a headliner. So it's going to be a very fun show. I think it's going to be a very entertaining show. And I have very high expectations because, like I've said this before, my favorite halftime show of all time is 2006 Prince, him performing in the rain in the Colts Bears Super Bowl, just unbelievable what he was able to do in that show. Some of my other favorites from over the years, Lady Gaga in Houston, she was unbelievable in that show. Um, you think about Bruno Mars in New York back in 2014, he was really, really good. That Snoop Dogg show from a couple of years ago was fantastic.
Michael Jackson in the early '90s too. My God,
Oh yeah, because he
that
was the
was
one
like
that really popularized the celebrities, because before Michael Jackson performed in 1993, I believe it might be 1993 or 94, you had just a lot of random acts. Like you had like random like just circus acts basically being your halftime show. And I believe the year before Michael Jackson, they had like the Disney Kids on Ice or something ridiculous. And it just the ratings absolutely tanked because what started to happen is of a lot of rival networks were doing their own counter programming, and yeah, the Vols are going nuts. We're up by 6 now against the Missouri Tigers, but you know Michael Jackson changed the game, and some have not been great. Like I think the worst one was Maroon 5 back in 2018. That was an awful one. Then try to shoehorn Travis Scott in there with Sicko Mode, and that just didn't make a lick of sense at all. I'm trying to remember who was the performer last year. Oh, Usher. Usher was a performer last year, and he had a really good show last year. And I remember I did a news story about. So a family member of mine actually taught Usher in middle school. So I was trying to remember which one it was last year, but that's what it was. So I always love the Super Bowl halftime show. And that just merges my love of music and football together. And it is going to be a fantastic time. Now, obviously, you have other stuff like the national anthem. And people love betting the over and the under on this. And normally, I feel like it's normally the over that you see on the national anthem because the singers really um, like to elongate.
yeah, Super Bowl have the kind of like landmark like of the. I feel like the year like in Brazil, Carnival is the kickstart of the year. In America is the Super Bowl. Like the year really starts after the Super Bowl. I remember when I lived in the United States for a lot of years, my ex girlfriend's family did not care about sports, but they had all sit on the couch on the living room to watch the Super Bowl, buy food, do a gathering, So I feel like it's a very big tradition for the United States of America.
Right. So the national anthem performer here is going to be John Baptiste, the jazz artist who's from New Orleans. So that's a very cool addition. And obviously, all the ads. The ads, and of course, the thing about the ads that really annoys me is the companies who release them ahead of the game. Like, why? Like, I don't want to watch any ads before the game. I want to be surprised during the game. So I'm not watching any ads. And then food. I got to figure out what I'm going to do for food.
Yeah, that's a
And
big one.
yeah, because I've told you probably the most random one was when I watched the end of a Super Bowl in a Waffle House. So that was a very weird Super Bowl. That was the Eagles Patriots in 2017.
That one I watched in a bowling alley. That was funny. I watched in a bowling alley. They were doing some sort of a promotion. My most unforgettable, definitely Super Bowl was the Atlanta one between the New England Patriots. Between not in Atlanta, the Houston one between the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons. That one because I drove all the way from Atlanta. I was a little bit sad that the city itself did not do any watch parties. I was expecting to do any big thing, but the only thing I found was like a watch party at the College Football Hall of Fame, and I even had to buy tickets for it. And I was excited because I thought, oh my God, if Atlanta wins, I'm gonna watch a city going to burst and celebrate a Super Bowl. And by the third quarter, me and my brother were already planning. Maybe we're gonna stay the night here. Maybe we're gonna see a big party. And of course, by the end of the game, the city of Atlanta was in mourning, was sad, was destroyed after that 28-3 comeback by the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, for any Falcons fans out there, Gus is the reason why you blew a 28-3 lead.
But I wasn't at the stadium. I was at the city. But
Yeah.
nevertheless, maybe that will count. I don't know.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into the actual game itself, though, because that's what we're here for. We are here to talk this game, and it's a familiar matchup for the second time in 3 years. It's Eagles and Chiefs. And first and foremost, right, there was a lot of people complaining after this matchup was set that, oh my God, this was rigged, that this was just completely predetermined on the Eagles playing the Chiefs. And to me, like, I get like one new blood, especially when the Bills were just right there. Right. And that's the agonizing part, is that we're not getting to see Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson get a chance to play in a Super Bowl. But at the end of the day, they had a chance to win, and they didn't. So the Chiefs are going to got that chance again. The Eagles took care of their own business against the Commanders and the Rams. So here we go. We got Eagles and Chiefs again. And what do you think about this matchup? Because these franchises, the Eagles had a kind of a down year last year that kind of fell apart at the end, but they've swung back. And they swung back in a year where Nick Sirianni was just criticized to hell throughout the entire season.
Oh, I mean, I feel like it was definitely a comeback season, especially for Nick Sirianni, because he has been criticized a lot by his uh, choices, by his tantrums, but he made it to the big game again. But I, I mean, do you think if he loses, he's going to be seen like Kyle Shanahan? Made it twice, lost twice to the Chiefs. Yeah, he's on the same trajectory. But if he wins, it's gonna be like, hey, I was able to stop history. I was able to prevent the three-peat by the Kansas City Chiefs. I brought the Super Bowl back to Philadelphia. I know there hasn't been a long time. It was not like the Cowboys, but of course it's 8 years. 8 years, yes, 8 years.
Well, the thing about Nick Sirianni versus Kyle Shanahan, right? Shanahan is seen as an offensive genius. He is seen as this wonderkind when it comes to coaching in the NFL, kind of like what you see of like a Sean McVay. Nick Sirianni does not have that same reputation, at least in my opinion. I've never heard anyone compare Nick Sirianni to a Kyle Shanahan. And I think in that respect, that lowers the pressure on Sirianni. The difference is Sirianni coaches in Philadelphia. And no matter who's the coach in Philadelphia, they're going to have the most extreme pressure imaginable. Which is why, Doug Peterson, right? Like he won Super Bowl in 2017, gets run out of the city in the next 3 years. Like you just don't have a grace period in that town. I mean, they ran off Andy Reid.
Yeah.
I mean, and speaking of Andy Reid, this was a huge deal 2 years ago when this matchup first happened about Reid getting a chance to beat the team that fired him. But is that still like a huge deal the second time around that Andy Reid's playing the Eagles again in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I feel like for Andy Reid is personal because he was able to overcome so much in Philadelphia. Like we talked, I think it was last year, how last week on our last episode, how he was able to, made a Super Bowl with average players, especially the average quarterback like Donovan McNabb, and the fans had enough of you know being close to uh, the promised land, being like really one or two games away from the title, and Andy Reid was able to revamp his career. Thanks definitely to Patrick Mahomes, but even before he made it, I feel like the Chiefs are already kind of stable organization. Like Alex Smith wasn't like a total uh, waste. He was, of course, not as good as Patrick Mahomes, but I feel like you know it's gonna be personal for any Reid.
As it should be. I mean, this is the Super Bowl. This game's going to be personal for everyone. I think for Andy Reid himself, and I know he's announced that he's not intending on retiring after this game. So I think there's less pressure on that front. But clearly, the pressure for just the Kansas City in general is history because they have a chance to do what no team has done before, and it's to get that three-peat. And that would be the ultimate, FU to Philadelphia is if you can get a three-peat with two of those wins against Philly. And then if Nick Sirianni loses a second time to Andy Reid in the Super Bowl, I have a feeling that the folks in Philadelphia will not take that too kindly.
Oh yeah.
So looking at moving to the quarterbacks here, because obviously we got Patrick Mahomes back here for the fifth time in 6 years. I mean, he already has 3 rings. He only has the one defeat to the Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then that's really where, there's Mahomes versus Hurts, right? That's that matchup. But then you got Mahomes versus the guy who's calling this game in the Fox booth, and Tom Brady, which that is certainly another topic within its own right. And the thing that Mahomes will never be able to overcome is that Mahomes lost to Brady head-to-head in the 2018 AFC Championship, and then he lost to Tom Brady head-to-head again in the 2021 Super Bowl. Now, I would argue that neither one of those losses were his fault, but the point stands that when he had a chance to beat Tom Brady head-to-head in the Super Bowl, he couldn't do it. Like LeBron and Jordan never faced each other in the playoffs. Brady and Mahomes did. So if the argument is, even with that being said, would a win here for Mahomes, start entertaining that conversation of Mahomes being in that GOAT conversation?
I feel like, yeah, he's gonna be kind of like when LeBron won in 2014. Be like, hey, he is different. He should be at least in close to the top of the Mount Rushmore of football. But Tom Brady had 20-year supremacy in the NFL. Like, from 2001 to 2021, he was the face of the league. Of course, he had a 10-year hiatus of winning the big game, especially that 2008 loss to the Giants. I feel like if Brady won that Super Bowl, then it would be no discussion. I feel like Eli Manning kept Tom Brady to be the undisputable GOAT of all time.
Yeah, and it's just going to be really hard. Like, Mahomes will probably have to match the 7 Super Bowl rings to be considered on that level. Now, if you ask some people, they'll say the style of play elevates Mahomes over Brady. And I would say, from a couple of years ago, yes, like the 2018 for 2021 version of Mahomes is the most electric quarterback I've ever seen. The thing about Mahomes, though, is he's kind of morphed into what Tom Brady was for the majority of his career at this point. Like, Mahomes is really not throwing deep that often anymore. He is throwing a lot of checkdowns, taking a lot of safe throws. And at this point, I'm not going to lie, it exactly hasn't been exciting. Like, he has 3,900 passing yards, 26 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions this year. That's not crazy. I mean, that's really good, but that's not like elite. That's not crazy. He's just making the safe plays and combined with the defense that the Chiefs have, that is what's leading the Chiefs to success.
I feel like he also developed a lot of his foot game. I think I compare a couple of episodes ago, couple of weeks ago, Patrick Mahomes to like a very talented soccer player. He's able to dribble, find spaces, to really create uh, ground spaces to make touchdowns.
So they're yes, I think you mean like his pocket presence, his ability to extend plays. Absolutely, because the line of
Yeah,
scrimmage has not been
and and
fantastic.
even the even the red zone, he's able to not depend on his throwing to make touchdowns.
Absolutely, it's going to be interesting to see what he pulls off, and we have to remember that he's trying to pull off this repeat after losing his best weapon in Tyreek Hill, which is truly unbelievable to say the least. Right now, the Vols up by double digits now, 68-58. What a second half for our Vols. Um, but back on Patrick Mahomes, he's operating with a aging Travis Kelsey, with a receiving core that's so, right? You got a DeAndre Hopkins who's getting up there in age. You have a Juju Smith-Schuster is getting up there in age. You have a Rashee Rice who, will he stay out of jail is the question mark with him. He doesn't have an elite receiving core, but he continues to find ways to win. And that is what's super impressive about these Kansas City Chiefs and about Patrick Mahomes. Now, I would say this: if any person has pressure in this game, to me, it's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has, to me, the most pressure of any individual player in this game. Because remember before this season, he got that $255 million contract. So you already have high expectations as is. There's been times this year where he hasn't been great. I mean, arguably, if you go back to the game against the Rams 2 weeks ago, he didn't play good in that game. He only had a little bit over 100 yards passing. And really, some people would say that the difference maker this year for the Eagles has been Saquon Barkley behind him. And the question is, can Jalen Hurts win you a Super Bowl? Now, 2 years ago, he was unbelievable in that Chiefs-Eagles game. And he played well enough for the Eagles to win, and the Eagles' defense ultimately let them down in that game. So I would say, yeah, Jalen Hurts is good enough to win you a Super Bowl. But I would say that Josh Allen's good enough to win you a Super Bowl. That Lamar Jackson's good enough to win you a Super Bowl. But those two haven't done it. But Jalen Hurts has that shot. What does Jalen Hurts have to do differently here to get his team over the top that Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson weren't able to do?
I think definitely the running game. Saquon Barkley is the key piece. That's why when they lost, they were aggressive at free agent in the trading in free agency to get those kind of pieces. And just breaking news here in Brazil, Neymar is going to be in. Neymar is now back into Brazilian soccer. Now he's going to make his anticipated debut. All the players, even from the opponent team, Botafogo of Rio Branco, hugging him, kind of wishing him good luck. So Neymar, the Brazilian superstar, our hope for the 2026 World Cup, is fully back at the Brazilian soccer. In his childhood team, Santos. I wonder what his performance is going to be in the second half. But back to football conversation, I feel that also the defense cannot let Jalen Hurts down because, as you point out, he played really well on that Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but the defense couldn't hold the Chiefs.
Absolutely. I just kind of want to reset real quick. You are listening to the Two Countries to America's All Sports Podcast, the only sports podcast talking about both American and Brazilian sports. Shout out to all the new listeners listening on TikTok. in
I
addition to our
look.
normal.
So ask your TikTok viewer what are they thoughts about Neymar? If they know about Neymar, if they have heard of him, maybe he's not as big as the United States. I'm just curious.
Yeah, if any soccer fans are in here, your thoughts about Neymar back in Brazil, playing with Santos, one of the most storied teams down in Brazil. Of course, Santos is just returning to the top division of Brazilian soccer after being relegated the year before last. Jason is saying that, quote, Jalen Hurts will win it for Philadelphia because he is going to take care of the ball because they can ground and pound. Hurts isn't going to have to throw a ton, which I think I would agree with because 2 years ago, the Eagles did not have Saquon Barkley. They have Saquon Barkley now. And I think when you look at the skill players here, that's the biggest difference. And Saquon Barkley, in a way, is making it relevant again to have a running back. He is given relevance to that position because for a while, it's been a conventional wisdom that you can't win with a running back. But I think Saquon might be the guy to do that.
Oh yeah, I think the kind of running back market, it's a lot on the hands of because if Saquon do really well in the Super Bowl, and you might wonder, are the running backs going back in style because for the recent years, I'll say last 5 years, running backs has been one of the most devalued positions in the NFL.
Yeah, but I think Saquon 100% is changing that. He is 100% bringing the running back position in vogue. And that is absolutely massive for running backs. And if Saquon can go out there and win this game, win MVP, that changes the whole trajectory of not just his career and his legacy, but what it means to be a running back in the NFL. So I think all running backs should be rooting for Saquon Barkley to do well.
No, I agree with you. I think definitely for the running back position is this game is key, but he's a piece that because the Phillies can the Eagles cannot solely depend on him. I feel like there has to be a kind of like a like Jason mentioned, like taking care of the ball well in the ground and also on the throwing part of it.
Right. And of course, Jalen Hurts has A.J. Brown and Javonte Smith to throw to, which is huge. And if Saquon Barkley is really running the ball effectively, which you're going to have to against a top tier Chiefs team, then that's the that's the way. That's the way. Use the run, set up the pass. And you are muted.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. I feel like it's gonna be the swag and the experience of the Chiefs versus the impounding tough Eagles.
Absolutely. And kind of like and defensively, like which team would we say had the better defense here? Because to me, I would say Chiefs. I mean, what Steve Spagnuolo has done with the Chiefs has been very impressive, but the Eagles too are loaded on the defensive side. And I don't think it's like a massive difference.
Yeah, I think both have key defensive players that definitely gonna be important in this matchup. But I think the Eagles have a tougher defense, but they have to show up in key moments.
Yeah. So the keys to the game, and we've kind of alluded to this to me, I think Saquon Barkley is the difference here. I think he's the key. If you're the Chiefs, you got to slow him down. If you're the Eagles, you got to get him going. I think whether or not he has a big game or not determines who wins this football game. I really think it's going to come down to Saquon.
Me too. He's gonna be the decisive factor for for either and the Eagles know how when you not use your running back well against the Chiefs, you might get screwed. We all remember the AFC Championship that the Ravens did that and ended up losing.
Yeah, and they could have won that game if they had the ability to have better ball control. To me, give me the Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles 35 to 20. No, 28 to 21. You're muted still.
Mine's gonna be um, 28 to, no 31 to 27.
Absolutely. And as always, I just think that they will. It'll be a close game. Now, Chasen says, I think the Chiefs' defensive success is largely to do with opponents having to throw a lot, playing from behind, and having to become one dimensional. The Eagles are better overall. Eagles 34-33. So we're all going very close here. Give me the Eagles, Philadelphia, to win their second Super Bowl in under a decade. This should be absolute cinema on Sunday night. Super Bowl Sunday, always incredible. Who's broadcasting the game in Brazil?
Oh, in free channel in I guess we can call cable TV is Rede TV, the one who was they already been broadcasting since 2021, and of course they're not gonna get any big ratings. I mean, even though the timing is not bad because it's gonna be 6:30 Eastern time, right?
Yeah, 6:30 Eastern time, of course, in America. It is on Fox.
Yeah. In,
So Tom Brady is going to be interesting to see how he does.
in Brazil, it's gonna be 8:30 Brazilian time, which is a prime time on Sunday. But yeah, the ratings are gonna be very minimal because football is a very niche sport. It's developing. Of course, the landmark was the uh, week one game in Sao Paulo, the Packers and the Packers and the Eagles, but it's still a long way to go to make any kind of impact on the TV ratings. And
I'll
on
be
the
honest, but watching the Eagles that night, I did not think I was watching a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, that's fair. That's completely 100% fair. Like, who would have thought?
Yeah, just unbelievable that we're here of Eagles Chiefs again. So Super Bowl Sunday, we'll have a live reaction to it next week. Now, let's get into some NBA talk because we had that breaking news just a couple of minutes ago. Jimmy Butler to Golden State. I know Jason had mentioned a couple of comments back that Jimmy Butler is a cancer. Warriors are out of contention now.
It was interesting the pieces that they trade, which is also because so they traded for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first round pick. Oh, that's on my end. Sorry. So on this list, I feel like Andrew Wiggins is kind of already done with the Warriors, so that's why I understand that he's one of the pieces of this trade.
Yeah, it's actually, when you think about Andrew Wiggins, right, for a number one overall pick, like he didn't have like an all-star career, but he did help them win a championship. So I would say overall it was a net success that he had in Golden State, even if it wasn't as great as I think people were hoping.
Yeah, I think so. In his career overall, Andrew Wiggins was a player that everybody expected a lot, but he never quite accomplished.
Right, because he was drafted by Minnesota, didn't do anything with them, and then goes to Golden State and becomes a role player. So, it kind of like a light Andre Iguodala to an extent.
Yeah, but Iguodala was able to reinvent his career with the Warriors. Maybe that could do it for Jimmy Butler.
Maybe, because here's the thing about Jimmy Butler, and yes, I understand Jason's point. I agree that the dude is cancerous, and he eventually is going to blow up your locker room. But if you're in a win now situation, I mean, Jimmy Butler is a guy who has proven that he can help lead a team to an NBA Finals, that he can lead them on a playoff run. Now, how much does Jimmy Butler still have in the tank is the question. He's still averaging 17, 5, and 4 this year, which is not terrible. And we've seen Jimmy Butler really raise his performance level in the playoffs. Like, well, now no one will ever forget his bubble performance.
Yeah, I feel like he was very concentrated at the bubble because Jimmy Butler he's the kind of player that when he's focused, he's unbelievable, but he can't stay focused long enough. That's why on a short term it's great. In a long term, not so good.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler is focused on two things in the bubble: basketball and Rachel Nichols. If you know, you know. But, but yeah, obviously huge trade here. I mean, obviously Miami needed to do it. You just can't keep a disgruntled star around for very long. So we'll see how that works. I don't know if that makes the Warriors a title contender. I would err on the side of no. But hey, with Steph Curry, anything can happen. So, and Curry and Butler together will be very interesting.
I mean, if one thing that we all praised Stephen Curry for is the ability to deal with big personalities.
Right. He's almost kind of like the Tom Brady of the NBA to that extent, right? Because he managed to win a Super Bowl of Antonio Brown, which I mean, imagine being able to get 2 good years out of Antonio Brown before he literally crashed out before uh, before literally just running out of a game.
I feel like that's a fair comparison. Jimmy Butler is I mean, as
I
of
don't know
right
if
now,
Jimmy Butler is Antonio Brown though. That's
he's a lighter version. He's a lighter
yeah.
version, we can say.
Yeah, that Jimmy Butler, like that's disrespectful to Jimmy Butler. Like Antonio Brown's Antonio Brown. The only comparable to Antonio Brown's Kanye West.
No, I see Antonio Brown until 2022.
I guess it's fair enough.
Because until then, he was known for being a good football player. After that, things fell apart.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. But we'll see what happens with Jimmy Butler in Golden State. Now, on the other end, the shock trade, the trade that has shook the NBA to its core, Luka Doncic to Los Angeles for Anthony Davis to Dallas. Unbelievable trade. People in Dallas have lost their minds on this trade. The Mavs have lost a ton of fans over this. They are very upset with this trade. Gus, what do you think? The most shocking trade in the NBA maybe ever.
There's nothing more shocking that Chris Webber Penny Hardaway trade that was in the draft. Nothing would top that. But I think it was the most shocking 21st century trade. I feel like definitely all pundits are saying what I was thinking, and I think you agree with me that neither team kind of gained in this trade, which is weird enough.
Yeah, like if you're Dallas, you got an older star, which is already a bad idea for a trade. Like I would never trade to get older unless you're in a win now. But if you're trying to win now, why are you getting rid of Luka? Is because Luka by far was your best player. He was your superstar. He was the guy who put butts in seats in American Airlines Center. Um, but at the same time, we also have to admit that Luka Doncic is not good at defense. He was a liability in those NBA Finals last year, as he was not able to outscore the Boston Celtics at all. And I think if Dallas, Nico Harrison, he kind of sat back and he looked at the situation and he kind of was like, we're never winning a championship with 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 Luca with our current structure now. Gus, you seem shocked about something. Did Neymar just score?
No, it's a very sad news. It kind of relates to to American sports in Brazil. Weird enough, former American sports broadcaster in Brazilian TV, Ivan Zimmerman, died in a car accident in the United States of America. He was 64 years old. He had a car accident in Florida. The family confirmed his death tonight. He was in the city of Broward when another driver crossed crossed the road, hit his car head on. The accident was on Friday, but the death was confirmed tonight. Um, and I feel like he had a really big legacy in American sports broadcasting in Brazil. He was the first Brazilian ever to broadcast the Super Bowl live in the United States of America in 1993. The one that we talked about, Michael Jackson. He was a specialist covering NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB. He lived in the United States for 20 plus years. He worked in a lot of now Brazilian networks as Bungie, Jovem Pan, um, and I was shocked because my generation, Marcelo Decena was just mentioning him about it, saying he is a big friend of Ivan Zimmerman, that he was covering World Cup in the United States, and for me, they started to watch American sports back in the late 2010s, uh, early 2010s. He was a broadcaster we all thought was funny, clever, knew the game. He's kind of like, and his face reminds me a little bit of John Madden. I'm gonna put his picture on, and I don't know if your thoughts, but he reminds me at least his picture reminds me a lot of John Madden. So that's him. And sorry to interrupt, but for me, it's kind of like if not all Michael, but if like like a Alexi Lalas died or something, like a very iconic soccer broadcaster, died, because that's what he was for us Brazilians. He was very good at broadcasting American sports for Brazilian fans.
Well, that's absolutely tragic, and my prayers go out to his family and to all of his colleagues and to all of his friends. That absolutely is tragic, and there's just been a lot of death,
Yeah,
unfortunately, in recent days. So it's
yeah.
just gotta
Sorry,
keep praying.
sorry that I act very shocked, because
Yeah,
if I'm here talking about American sports, Ivan Zimmerman had a little part of it. And if you talk about Neymar, he's on the field. He's not playing very well. He's very shy. Touch had a few touches. Santos still 1-0 winning at home, but Neymar still not have played very well. But we still have 25 minutes to play.
absolutely. We'll see if he does anything there. Um, kind of segueing back here, just a quick score update. We have Tennessee 75, Missouri 70, 140 remaining in this ball game here. Shout out to the Mocs winning tonight over Wofford, 79-70. Tight finish coming here in Knoxville. But back on Luca and AD, I think on the one hand, I think Dallas got better on defense. Definitely got better on defense with Anthony Davis. The problem is though, who's going to get the buckets when you really need them?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we all praised Stephen Curry for not being a ball hogger, that he was able to share that protagonism with uh, Kevin Durant. I feel he can do the same with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. Now for the long range for the Lakers, there's a two-part. One, how much can Luca help LeBron right now? And two, you know, are the Lakers ready to move on from LeBron after this year and just build around Luca?
Oh yeah, I think Luca definitely is LeBron last attempt to have someone to win right now because he knows he's kind of you know probably gonna have this or maybe next year's years to play. And interesting, if he wins this year, he can say he won a title with his son, right? Because it counts. Because Bronny played actual minutes in the Lakers roster, so that's maybe he's making this. Even though I heard rumors that he wasn't involved with this trade somehow, which is weird.
Yeah, which is very rare for LeBron James, right? Because LeBron is the lead GM. Like he is known for being involved in all the trades, but he was not involved in this one. Apparently, this is very was a tight knit trade between Nico Harrison and Rob Pelinka. And for Nico Harrison, at least the one thing you can say that he screwed up on here is he should have tried to get more for Luca because he could have gotten so many first round picks for him, and he just didn't. He got AD, but that was it.
Yeah,
Um, so on that front, I think he really messed up.
yeah,
So just shocking trade for. Uh, we'll see how Luca and AD move forward in their respective new careers, and for Dallas too, the Mavericks. Like, how do they recover as a franchise from this? Because they have burned a lot of bridges with their fan base over this trade.
yeah. I bet the fans feel some sort of betrayed, some sort of uh, like not trying to win, and that was the first big move by the new ownership. Remember, this is not. Oh, Santos suffered a goal, 1-1. Botafogo of Rio Branco spoiling Neymar's debut. What a beautiful goal, by the way. Corner from the left hand side, beautiful header. So 1-1 in Santos Stadium, the iconic Villa Belmiro. So 1-1 goal scored by number 9, Alexandre. Alexandre scored 1-1. So let's
Wow,
see if
that's
Neymar
the
can
drama ongoing.
drama in Belmiro's village, Villa Belmiro. See if Neymar can save Santos from, you know, uh, tying at home. But back into basketball, I feel like this new ownership right now was a risky move because, of course, if Anthony Davis being a productive player and maybe win it all, then it would be praised as bold. But I feel like Dallas fans right now are not a big fans of this new ownership because remember, this is not Mark Cuban's Mavericks anymore.
Yeah, and Mark Cuban definitely seems like he cashed out at the right time. He got out of there. And I saw people trying to clown him, but like as you said, he's no longer at the forefront of this decision. So again, I don't understand why Dallas did this, but yeah, just insane. Absolutely nuts. And the Lakers continue to have the luck of the NBA shine upon them. Now, I think an equally consequential move that not as many people are talking about, De'Aaron Fox was traded from the Kings to San Antonio. Zach Levine is being sent to Sacramento. So De'Aaron Fox, who has been languaged in Sacramento his entire career, now gets paired up with Victor Wembanyama, and I think this is a just electric pairing. And that duo could win a championship together. Like I am big on the Fox Wemby duo. I think those two fit together so well.
Yeah, but do you really think Brad Popovich is still fit to carry a team into glory? I don't know, but like I'm waiting for the day he's gonna retire.
Yeah, I think at some point they're going to have to retire, or he's going to have
Yeah,
to retire. Like for the San Antonio Spurs to really do what they really want to do with Victor Wembanyama, because Wembanyama is the single most talented player they've ever had. I'm sorry, he's more talented than Duncan. He's more talented than Ginobili. He's more talented than Parker. I think any of those players will tell you the same thing.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. So, but I think for right now though, like having Popovich is great for Wemby's development. And Fox, too, like, to get them in synchronicity, those two are going to be unbelievable together. Now, I do want to shift my focus over to the basketballs here. We have 31.6 seconds remaining in Knoxville. It's 81-75 Vols. And what's been an absolutely crazy second half, the Vols only had, I think it was like 30 points at halftime, but they have gone nuts here in the second half. They've scored over 50 points. And this has been kind of a chaotic end to this game because they're trying to withstand heavy pressure from the Missouri Tigers. But they are going to have some free throws here, I believe, come up after this timeout, 81-75. And what would be another huge win for the Vols, because the Vols, this is their fifth straight game against a top 15 opponent. And, you know, the last time we spoke about the Vols, they were just coming off the loss to Kentucky. And the loss to Kentucky was aggravating, to say the least, because it was a game where I felt like Tennessee was the better team, and Kentucky just hit a bunch of threes, and Tennessee forced a lot of threes. They shot 45 threes in that game. However, Tennessee, I think, went back to the drawing board, and as they were forced to, with Zakai Ziegler and Igor Milicic both being out of the game on Saturday against the number 5 Florida Gators, a team that had blown them out back in early January. But they did the same thing back to them. They beat Florida by 20 points on Saturday. And now they are 26 seconds away from pulling off another win against a top 15 Missouri team. So, Gus, I mean, what do you think about the Vols in this point of the year? Because, yeah, they've suffered some losses, but they're about to get another quality win here against another top 15 team.
Yeah, I think the Vols definitely needed that win in Gainesville, that win at home actually against the Florida Gators, because it was getting their confidence back after that loss to Kentucky. Because winning a rivalry game increases your morale, boost your morale a lot. It makes you kind of get back on track, and I feel like the Vols really are doing that, cementing this win over Missouri. And I feel like for the we talked about last week, are the Vols at risk of, falling the bracket, or even, leave the bracketology altogether? I think with those two wins, the Vols are pretty much 1 foot and 1 finger into March Madness.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not worried about us making the tournament. We're talking about, can Tennessee get a 1 seed? Is the question. And because right now Tennessee's ranked 4th in the country in basically every poll, and right now they're ranked 4th in the net rankings, which is basically the modern RPI rankings in terms of strength of schedule. And winning this game tonight would only bolster that against another top 15 opponent in Missouri, a team that's beaten Kansas, that beat Florida in Gainesville. I mean, Missouri is, in my opinion, they're underrated. Missouri has really impressed me tonight with the way they have played. They have the third-year coach in Dennis Gates. I remember Jason and I went to see Missouri in his first season when they came to Knoxville, and they beat us on a buzzer beater that year, 86-85. And last year, Missouri kind of fell apart. It was an awful season for them. After the year before, they had lost to Princeton in the tournament. But Missouri is kind of back this season. So we have another timeout here. It's 82-76 with 26.8 seconds to go in this game. And tonight, when you look at the scoreboard, Zakai Ziegler coming back off of the injury, 21 points tonight at 4-4 from 3. He hyperextended his knee against Kentucky, but he does not look any slower at all. It does not look like that knee injury is inhibiting him a bit. Which just shows his leadership and his resilience as a player. Additionally, Igor Milicic, he was out with the flu on Saturday against Florida. He has 20 points tonight as well. 8 of 10 shooting. And this team tonight is 10 of 15 from 3. And that is huge because, one, they're not taking as many frees. They're taking high-quality shots. And Missouri's throwing a lot of pressure at them. They force some turnovers. The one problem you can say they have had tonight is turnovers. They've had 11 of them, which is not ideal. But at the same time, the Vols have found a way to win. The game's not over yet. They got to finish this out. Let's see, Igor Milicic is now at the line. 25.9 seconds left. First free throw is up, and it's no good, okay? So if you don't hit this, then Missouri has a chance maybe to make this a one-score game. 25.9 seconds to go in Knoxville. See, Igor Milicic with 20 points on the night, and he gets the second one. So it's 83-76 now. 25.9 seconds. Jemai Mashak comes on for Igor Milicic. A lot of in-game stuff. Like, this ending has been going on for literally forever. It's 9:13 right now. They've been in the last 4 minutes since since it feels like that for the last 20 minutes. So Missouri's going to throw it down the court. They're going to throw it back. You're going to get a free off, and that's good. So it's 83-79 now. Tennessee is going to get the ball back here. They're going to have to throw it back in again. Missouri's in a full court press. For anyone watching on TikTok, you're watching/listening to the Two Countries, Two Americas All Sports podcast. I'm Nick Hill. I have Gus Tomazeli with me. Gus has taken a brief break. He is joining back in right now. 83-79.
I was thirsty. Thirsty. Sorry, I had my water break.
Yeah, it's 83-79 right now in Knoxville. We're going to go back to the other end with 2 free throws. Looks like we're going to have Jordan Gainey at the line for 2 for 20.5 seconds remaining in this game. Gainey is going to shoot his first one, and that bounces out. So that is no good. So Missouri, no matter what here, could make it a one-score game on the next possession. So Missouri is not quitting. They are not going away into the good night. Gainey hits his second one. So 84-79, some shaky free throw shooting here down the stretch for the Vols. The Missouri comes back down the court. Missouri's searching for a shot. They're going to throw up a free. They're going to miss it. And Jordan Gainey gets the rebound. Missouri's going to foul with 6.6 seconds remaining, and that should do it, I would imagine, for the Vols, as they are up by 5 points with 6.6 seconds remaining. And the crowd is up on their feet. They're celebrating. Well, it'll be another very impressive win for the Vols here at home. This would increase our record to 19-4 on the year, 6-4 in conference play in the best conference that we probably have ever seen in college basketball. I mean, 5 straight top 15 matchups. That is unbelievable. I can't believe that's even a sentence that can be uttered about SEC basketball.
Yeah, like the SEC really, it's so funny how 10 years ago, the SEC was dominating football and scrambling in basketball. Now SEC dominates basketball, and not, I won't say scrambling at football, but definitely is not as big as 10 years ago.
Absolutely. So Missouri didn't make a basket. So it's 85-81. We're going to throw it in, and that should be the game. Or no, they fouled away from the ball. Missouri will just not let us go home. Missouri will not let us go home tonight. Oh, no, they call a timeout with 1 second remaining. But why are you calling a timeout with a second remaining down 4?
Maybe they have a strategy. I don't know.
I mean, man, I respect, like, trying to do everything you can to win, but this is getting absolutely ridiculous.
But could they call a timeout? Wasn't Tennessee's ball?
Well, you can call a timeout, like, immediately right after, which is kind of a dumb rule, but, like, that is what it is. It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's fair.
So 1 second remaining and Vols up by 4. Just got to get a clean pass in and they'll win because Missouri literally will not let this game end. So the next game for the Vols is at Oklahoma. So we will see our new SEC brethren for the first time at Oklahoma on Saturday. They're unranked, but Oklahoma is a bubble team. So it's our first game against an unranked opponent since we went to Vanderbilt 3 weeks ago. And remember, we lost to Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma actually just beat Vanderbilt by 30 on Saturday. So even though this is a quote unquote unranked team, it's still not an easy game.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
All right, so Zakai Ziegler is going to throw it in here, and that's going to be the ball game. 85-81 is the final. The Vols have survived the Missouri Tigers.
Oh,
Big win.
big win. Definitely
First win
impact.
versus Missouri in Knoxville since February 5th, 2019. I was there for that game. That was Konzo's first time back in Knoxville. So huge win for the Vols. They got another big one next week or on Saturday against Oklahoma as they chase that 1 seed. Because as of right now, if I look up Joe Lunardi's, all right, Robert Hanley, my coworker, is asking me thoughts on the game. To me, overall, that was like a second weekend March game, a Sweet 16 Elite 8 type game. Missouri is a very, very good team, and I expected this to be tough. I am surprised at how well we played offensively in this game. I'm surprised at how well Sakai looked coming off of the knee injury on offense, and I'm very pleased we didn't force freeze. Like, we only shot 15 threes in this game, which is huge because one of the main reasons why I thought we lost to Kentucky last week is because we only shot 45 times. So that, to me, in a nutshell, is why I think Tennessee was able to win this game tonight against the Missouri Tigers. Huge win. And shout out to Robert. He won his bet on this game. So thanks for betting on the Vols and winning big.
That's yeah.
Absolutely. We love people who bet on the Vols.
Oh yeah.
Right now, Tennessee would be the number 1 seed, and I want to share this real quick. He says, "Good old Rocky Top." Yeah, Robert, he's from Texas, but we are indoctrinating him into the ways of Tennessee.
Nice.
Up here. So right now, our opponent would be Central Connecticut, and would be paired with Clemson and West Virginia. Missouri, Wisconsin would be in our regional. Our 2 seed would be Iowa State. UConn would be the 7 seed, which would be scary. Because I know UConn has not been great this year, but still, like, UConn in the tournament scares me. And of course, Tennessee has exactly not had the greatest run. Of course, Auburn right now is the number 1 overall seed, with Alabama and Duke in those 2 number 1s overall. On the bubble right now, the last team in is Nebraska. The first team out is UCF. So that's just kind of a overview of what the bracket looks like right now. Not since it really is wasting time on it, but as we get later in February, that bracketology only begins to heat up. But at least for our Vols, we're not worried about making it into the tournament. I think the Vols could lose out and make the tournament.
I think, as I said, those and Neymar just hit the post. Almost Neymar scored here at Santos game, but I feel like those win tonight and the win over Florida cemented the Vols into the tournament. And now to see what kind of seed the Vols are going to be in.
Yeah. And we've never been the number 1 seed ever in our history. So just keep that in mind. We have never been the 1 seed. So that would be truly a record-breaking year. The last American item I want to talk about is NASCAR. NASCAR is so back. And, man, this weekend was absolutely electric at Bowman Gray Stadium. Also, well, real quick before we go to NASCAR, shout out to the Lady Vols. They won on Sunday. against, I believe it was, I forgot who they played, but they played, I think, Arkansas, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct. No, they beat Missouri. They also beat Missouri on Sunday. They needed it after a free game losing streak. Tomorrow, though, they play the UConn Lady Huskies at home. Of course, that UConn Tennessee women's basketball rivalry is huge.
Really huge. I seen with my own two eyes back in 2021.
Absolutely. I hate UConn women basketball. I'll just say that much. Like, if you're a Vol, you have to hate UConn. So you have to hate Gino because Pat Summitt forever. But without being a sigh, I mean, UConn will probably win tomorrow. But man, it would be a statement win for Ken McCodwell to win that one. Which, by the way, shout out to her. She's obviously, I think she has a 2 or 3 week old newborn, and she's coaching. So, which still blows my mind
A
because
lot. He is
yeah,
I think her resilience about that is going to inspire the team. I'm
yeah,
confident with that.
absolutely. That's a tough person right there. So back on NASCAR, they were at Bowman Gray Stadium, historic racetrack. They hadn't raced there in over 51 years, but they raced there over the weekend. It was awesome because it was a very small, short track. It's really a track around a football field in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. That they used to race at all the time back in the day, and it's a flat track. There's no banking, so you have to basically push each other out of the way to pass. So you lead to a lot of spins, lots of crashes. It's entertaining, and the fans were having a great time. But Chase Elliott, the fan favorite, got the win in the clash. Of course, it's an exhibition, so it doesn't count. But if Chase Elliott came out in week 1 with that fast of a car, he could be a dangerous person this year, maybe to win the whole thing. Of course, next week is the Daytona 500, the Super Bowl of stock car racing. So looking forward to that next week. But that's all that I have for American sports. Gus, what are you up to in Brazil?
Still watching Neymar's debut, which frankly I'll give it a C. He's trying some of his dribbles. He's being kind of present, but very uninspired. Santos have been uninspired all season. I mean, I watched them live both two times this season against Ponte Preta and Velo Clube. I don't know how much Neymar can make a difference. And he's been complaining a lot to the ref, but let's see if how Santos is gonna deal. I think it's gonna be a tie. It looks like it's gonna be 88 minutes, so it's 2 minutes plus stoppage time. Rio Branco, our beloved Rio Branco, as I call you, the Rio Branco ambassador in Tennessee. Uh, it's still not. I guess you are you still able or not to watch the games with with broadcast with like image?
Yeah, I'm still not able to. I can't find them anywhere. Now, granted, the Wednesday games are while I'm at work, so it so it really
I
has.
I contact I contact. We're gonna finish soon, Nick. We're gonna finish soon. I contact the person that is responsible for broadcasting the Paulista Federation games from Division 1 to Division 5. He's been trying to sort out what's going on, but he has a suspicion that, like I did, that there's a settings on the YouTube channel that prevents broadcasting outside of Brazil because they had to do that for the first division because of broadcasting rights. Then I'm gonna take a call, ask him about it. But on the field, Rio Branco had a very slow start, but then got back on his track. But it's a tough game against Francana. Was the rematch of the A4 final, which Rio Branco won. 1-1, of course, definitely disappointing. Two tied, second straight tying game at home, but Rio Branco still undefeated, 3 wins, 3 ties. Next game is on the road. Is a top 4 matchup between the second place Catanduva and fourth place Rio Branco. Game is on Saturday, 5 p.m. Brazil time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully Rio Branco, which has been playing really well on the road, 2 wins and draw, and this draw was with a lot of backups. So let's see what Rio Branco's gonna do.
And it wasn't Francana one of the teams they played in the playoffs last year?
Yeah, the final. It was a
Yeah.
rematch of the final last year. Both got promoted, and Rio Branco won the final 2-0 at home, 2-1 in Franca. So
But
let's see
where are
what.
they at in the table right now?
So Rio Branco's at fourth place with 3 wins, 3 ties, no losses.
And what an incredible start that is.
Yeah, really, really well, especially being a newly promoted team. Like Rio Branco's roster really deep. Of course, there are some things that Rio Branco has to work on, which by the way doesn't have time because like Rio Branco has been like uh, rehab training trip game, rehab training trip. So it's a very intense schedule for Rio Branco. And again, another travel on Friday and for the game on the road on Saturday against Catania. Last but not least, Flamengo. Neymar almost scores. Almost
Ah,
scores.
so
He,
close.
he was
So
inside of
close.
the penalty box. He shot and the defender was able to stop. So 91 minutes, and Neymar has the ball. He tries, dribbles. No, not
Ah,
again. So Neymar trying, but not so far has been finding luck to score. But last but not least, Flamengo beats Botafogo 3-1 in the Brazilian Super Cup final. The winner, it's kind of the Community Shield of Brazil, the winner of the Brazilian League versus the winner of the Brazilian Cup. Flamengo won 3-1 in Belém of Pará. And I guess even though the game's on the end, I feel like probably gonna remain tying. But as I said, I give Neymar a C plus. For someone who's been uh, dealing with a lot of injuries, kind of get back on track, has a overall good, very medium to good-ish performance. But I feel like Santos would need uh, a lot of him to, develop the
yeah,
team.
and Brazil just needs him to develop
Yeah,
more.
definitely. Yeah, not only
It's a
Santos.
long process. It's a long process, and as long as he's ready in 18 months, that's all that matters.
That's true. That's what all Brazilian fans are hoping for.
Absolutely. Well, that is all the time that we have tonight for episode 166 of Two Countries, Two Americas, All Sports. For Gus Tomazeli in Americana, Sao Paulo, Brazil, I'm Nick Hill in Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. Thank you so much for listening and have a wonderful